Reporters keep asking me, Billy, why you do the things you do? This is what I tell them.
All of me.
We love you.
When I take
NAACP says Billie Holiday is the voice of our people.
I think we should integrate the audience for this show. Let's change it up a little bit. You know, blacks and whites sitting together.
You knew what you were getting yourself into when you decided to come on the road.
Get out my goddamn clothes.
I'm gonna take everything except your bra and your pants.
Which one of my songs is your favorite song?
Strange Fruit.
Yeah, it's a song about important things, you know. Things that are going on in the country.
strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees.
You think I'm gonna stop singing that song? You grandkids will be singing Strange Fruit.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Capehart, opinion writer for The Washington Post. Welcome to Washington Post Live. The United States versus Billie Holiday is the incredible story of the FBI's efforts to keep jazz great Billie Holiday from singing Strange Fruit, her signature song about lynching. Director Lee Daniels presents a gripping drama that shows Holiday in all her glory and tragedy, and Andra Day gives a stellar performance so convincing you'd think you were watching Lady Day herself. And that's why I am thrilled and honored to welcome Lee Daniels and Andra Day to Washington Post Live. Thank you both very much for being here.
Jonathan, good to see you again. Forever.
I know, it's been a very long time. Great to see you again. Both of you, congratulations on this film. The moment I saw it, I immediately sent a letter to y'all saying, okay, here are all your options. I need to talk to you about this film. Lee, let me start with you.
Hey, morning.
So as we saw in the opening clip, the film tackles pretty much everything: racism, sexism, addiction, art, abuse. And I'm wondering, Lee, how did you come to this project and what influenced your approach to Billie Holiday's life?
Susan Laurie Parks, the Pulitzer Prize winning playwright, sent me this beautiful script that really depicts the government breaking her down, coming for Billie Holiday and really trying to cripple her as an artist for singing Strange Fruit, which was about lynching Black people. And that wasn't the understanding of Billie Holiday that I had. I thought that she was a troubled jazz singer that got in trouble with the law and, did drugs and was fashionable. I didn't know that she was a political activist. And I pride myself in being smart about our history. And I thought to myself that if I don't do this, I don't know. I mean, I had to do this. I had to do it. And I thought also, like, how many other stories about our people have been hidden? So yeah, that was one of the reasons.
Right. And I'm going to latch on to what you just said before, which was you thought of Billie Holiday as a jazz singer, but you didn't really know that she was an activist. What more did she do other than being defiant about trying to sing Strange Fruit despite government opposition and government targeting? What other things did she do that made you realize that she's more than just Lady Day?
What other things she did besides stand up to the government? Jonathan, like, there's a lot to stand up to. I couldn't. I don't know that I could. Even today, I don't think that I could. They told me, Lee, you can never make a movie again, or I'm coming for your mother. I'm going to come for your kids, and you will. I'm like, take it. But there was something about her strength and her being born into the world that she was being born in, that had been born. She didn't give two flying you know whats, because she had nothing to lose by
Right.
living in her constantly.
Yeah.
Andra, let me bring you in here. I saw your interview. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just wanted to piggyback off of that too. I mean, I think what Lee shows so brilliantly in the movie is that a part of what she did in standing up to the government was being human, right? She's a Black queer woman in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and that living in that and owning that in itself is defiance. Then add to that she's integrating audiences. I mean, this is one of the first artists, a Black woman, to integrate Carnegie Hall. She wasn't the first, but she was one of the first. So she was integrating audiences, and I don't think people understand this is sort of pre the real reinvigorated civil rights as we know it, and so we wouldn't have our heroes would not have been as emboldened as they were. You know, Thurgood Marshall and the like, on down to Rosa Parks on down, if it were not for her singing Strange Fruit in defiance of the government, if it were not for setting off this alarm in the nation and letting people know that this was wrong. So people have to really, really understand how much her doing that emboldened the civil rights leaders we know of today, as our great civil rights leaders. So, and him showing her in all of her human elements that's defiance all in itself, So yeah, I'm proud of what he did in this work.
Yeah, that part. John.
Go ahead, Lee.
That part too. Yeah. You tell him, Andra.
Wait, so Andra, what's so great about the comment you just made is that it was so laden with facts and history and deep knowledge of Billie Holiday. And I watched your interview on CBS Sunday Morning, where you said you read everything you could possibly read about Billie Holiday. Everything, watched everything, listened to everything, and whatever you could, you carried a lot of that information in this beat up shopping bag.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. There's other pieces and other parts of my room in my closet, but yeah, that's a good portion of it.
and so in all of that studying, when it came to learning about Billie Holiday, did you come to a different, even clearer understanding in the way that Lee did of this woman who the country simply just knows as Billie Holiday, an extraordinary jazz singer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it wasn't different. It was just deeper. You know what I mean? It was deeper. It was more solidified. It became more crystallized. I knew just from being a fan of her work, and she is my foremost inspiration. That's where Day comes from in my artist name. And so I knew a lot about the government going after her. I did not know about the Jimmy Fletcher piece. That was revelatory for me, but it just deepened everything because I knew they went after her. I did not know the extent to which they went after her. Like I said, I didn't know the Jimmy Fletcher piece. It's infiltrating everything, infiltrating her weaknesses, her strengths, infiltrating her heart, her chosen family, and with the goal of destroying her. And then when you think, right, it all came together when I remembered, oh yeah, once we did all of this and I see what Lee's put together, it's like, yeah, she was doing all of this pre-civil rights. There was not a movement to support her. And I cannot stress that enough. It was not that she had this whole great, community and this movement and this sort of army behind her. It was just her and her broad woman's shoulders. And I think that, when you think about that, or you think that her community people loved her, but she would also be penalized. The NAACP sort of wrote these violation cards about behavior, and and then Lee puts it so beautifully in the movie about this reporter asking, why don't you just behave, be more like Ella Fitzgerald or more like this person. So I think what it really made me realize was, first of all, it made me just love her and be so grateful to God for her and for her and to her. It made me realize my own strength as a Black woman. And it just made me realize what we are capable of as people, and the fact that she was doing all of this with all of this trauma, with all of this pain, with all of this loss, that she was still, victorious. That's so. And it made me realize that her addiction it's an illness. How could this woman have done all of this without some type of battery in her back, right? I think it manifests differently in our lives, but she was just trying to be, as we've said before, Lee and I, she's trying to be healthy. She's trying to be well, So it just deepened my love and my gratitude for her.
Lee, it's great that Andrew just said that the Day in her name, it comes from Lady Day, it comes from Billie Holiday. But what was it about her? What was it about Andra Day that made her the perfect person to play Billie Holiday?
I've been asked that, and every time there's another answer, really. I mean, when you look at her spirit, her intelligence, her knowing as a vocalist how to use her instrument almost as a vehicle to express Billie Holiday. She didn't want to do it at first, and I didn't want her at first. And so,
What? Wait, hold up. Wait, you didn't want her at first?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I had some actors. She never acted before, Jonathan. So I had actors that that were bona fide, and I won't name them, that were coming at me straight. But here's the thing: when I met with her and I saw her questioning herself, I saw that she loved Billie even more than me, and that she wanted to honor her, and that she wanted to do the right thing, and she was terrified. And my guard was down, and I said, okay, let me give her a shot. And then I said, let's take this to the next level to audition. She said, well, you think I can play her, really? I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you here? Why are you here? You're here to audition, right? And she said, I think so. And something like that. And so the rest is history. She just yes, it was acting, but it was a spiritual thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
A spiritual person, and so it was really, I honestly believe it was God working. I love your trust God today, Andra, because that's why you're here. I really believe that.
And in my introduction, I said, Andra, that your performance was so spectacular. I forgot that I was watching an actor. I mean, I thought, this is Billie Holiday. And what I'm really curious about is how did you prepare? How did you train to sound like her, to get that raspy, gravelly, like down home, warm voice that is Billie Holiday's?
So Lee introduced me to Tasha Smith, who was my acting coach, and then to Tom Jones, who was my dialect coach. And he was very specific. Lee's direction starts before you get to set. So he was very specific about the voice and really wanting the voice, because, I think us trusting each other, and me trusting Lee, and us getting closer, it was also our love together sort of deepening for Billie Holiday. And so you sort of want all these facets of her because they make her. And so with the voice, it was so important to get that right. Also, I didn't want to play her if we weren't going to do the voice. I didn't want to hearing my own voice. I just felt like, first of all, I don't like it. So I'm still dealing with that, but hearing myself, it was just distracting. And I love the sound of her voice and the different places she is. So, we were just sort of trying to pinpoint as a singer, right, where is she singing from, and so sort of exercising the muscles to be able to grab it from a higher place. She kind of talks from a higher, more shallow place. Everything's very gravelly and very broken up because of a lot of wear and tear over the years, and that was important to get as well too, because I think if you don't hear that, you're not hearing all of the experience in her life. You're not hearing every time she shot up, every time she took a drag from a cigarette, drank something, every time she stood up to the feds, every time she sang Strange Fruit or was shot at or was set up, or losing her mother, all that's on her voice. And so we just sort of found, where does she speak from? It's a higher tone. And then also she chases her breath, which was a big thing. It was finding her breath that helped us to find it. And then also her laugh. Her laugh was a huge thing for me that helped me to really drop into her. And then there was the physical pain. Lee about to jump into it. I never smoked cigarettes before.
Let me tell you, her acting coach sent me this, unbeknownst to Andra, this video of her preparing for the audition. And it was a metamorphosis, Jonathan. Her body changed, her physical changed, her eyes were dead, her vocal changed, and it wasn't it was becoming. It was becoming. And I had not witnessed that, and I've worked with many an actor. I had not witnessed that kind of commitment to the craft in my career, you know, and in my career. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess you got the job.
Well, you know what? We've talked so much about Andra singing, about Billie Holiday, and particularly about the song "Strange Fruit." Let's play a bit of that from the movie "The United States versus Billie Holiday."
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning.
I mean, how do you, it just, again, now, so for the audience, when I say I thought I was watching Billie Holiday, now you know what I'm talking about. And you know, the events that are depicted in the movie, they're like, they happened 80 years ago. And yet the movie is coming out at a very fraught time in American history. We are 6-7 months from the re-explosion of protests, racial justice protests, and social justice protests in this country as a result of the killing of George Floyd. And I'm just wondering from each of you, I don't know when the filming actually happened, but I'm wondering how much of where we are as a country right now factored into, Lee, your thinking of this film, and for you, Andra, the way you performed, the way you portrayed Billie Holiday. Lee, you go first.
I can only do what's in my spirit, what leads me to my spirit. And I think SLP wrote this for the same reason I wanted to direct this. You know, you feel what's in the air, and we felt that George Floyd was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. It was in my spirit. So when I did The Butler, it was really about hope. We had hope in the world, in America. But with, with this film, you know what? I haven't told you this, Andra, but I was on the set of doing Empire, my TV show. And Taraji had a son that was 19. Terrence Howard had a son that was 19. My son was 19 at the time. We all looked at each other, and all of our sons were on probation for petty stuff. And it was no coincidence that there were 3 men and 3 boys in 3 different parts of the world, United States, all on probation. That was the American. If we didn't have the money to keep them out of jail, who knows what would have happened. So this is so when I did this was really about how we were feeling in America, how as a black man I'm feeling in America. This movie was a call to arms, and it was way before the George Floyd, but we saw it coming. So I didn't. George Floyd didn't have to happen. It was in the air, and it was an aerosol. What was happening? You could smell it, you could feel it. So So that is it was just in my spirit.
What about for you, Andra?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's funny that Lee had not mentioned that to me before, and it's really powerful because the reality is we know what would have happened if they didn't have the money to keep them from sitting in jail, right? Because Khalif Browder was a huge inspiration for me when I was on set, singing Strange Fruit, watching the lynching scene. I can't see pictures of, and obviously we know I'm referring to Khalif Browder, the young kid who committed suicide. If anybody had seen the documentary Time, if you have not, you should definitely watch it. But
on Rikers.
Yes, on Rikers, who spent 3 years and most of that time in solitary confinement over being accused, likely falsely accused, of stealing a backpack, right? Something so petty, 16 years old, his entire life was taken from him. I can't see pictures of him without his eyes make me cry, right? I think he's more of like a prophet or an angel, and maybe he was meant to be here for a short period of time, but it's so powerful that he just said that, because he's right. The outcome of their lives could be drastically different, particularly as young men of color, as young black men, if there wasn't sort of, the financial padding to be able to get them out of jail. So as Lee said, the reality is, we shot this movie pre the George Floyd protest, but we did not shoot this movie pre Khalif Browder. We did not shoot this movie pre Tamir Rice, pre Trayvon Martin, pre Sandra Bland, pre Alton Sterling, pre Eric Garner. I mean, the list goes on, right? So that's, as he said, it's in the air, because he says this so brilliantly. I love that when people say this movie is very timely, he says it's always timely. The movie is always timely. We are still black. We are still living in America. We are still trying to dismantle a system, right? People forget how sort of nebulous and how ubiquitous the word system is, a system of oppression. So, it was really, and there'd be moments on set that were really eerie almost. We realized we were shooting in 1940, in the 40s, late 40s. But we'd look around and say, wow, you could just put regular clothes on us and, a t-shirt, and it would be, 2019, which is when we were shooting. So I think that's really what it shows, is the strides that our ancestors like Billie Holiday made. So it shows the distance that we have come. It also shows the closeness that we're still at. And so we still have a lot of work to do. And that was very motivating. On set.
It makes me wonder, given that I love the way you put that, Lee, that it was an aerosol. It's just an aerosol. How much of a role do you think the arts can play, and particularly this film can play, in bringing back that hope that you were talking about that was in the air when you did the Butler, Lee? Is it possible for us to get hope to be a part of the aerosol, or is the message of the movie so intense, so fraught, that it's really more of a warning than anything else?
It's interesting. Art changes the world. Art changes politics. And that's the reason why they wanted to shut Billy down, because they knew that those words, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, they knew that those lyrics would shut people down. I didn't understand those words until I read the script all these years, how powerful they were. They're ugly. And I think that, we have to, we have so much work to do, and it's not going to be done in our lifetime. We are at war, this country. And I think that we're finally looking at the war. We've been in denial that America's been in denial about the war that we really are in with each other. So I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. Maybe it'll happen in my grandkids' lifetime. But unless we do the work, we are a country at war.
What do you think about that, Andra? Are we a country at war, or are we a country at war that is turning a corner, given the ubiquity of the protests, given the 2020 election results and what that says about the change that the country wanted? Are we turning a corner, or are we really in the middle of a war that won't possibly see an end until maybe your grandkids are our ages?
I mean, I think that, right, I think that there's a tide even in war, right? And so I do think that seeing these protests is sort of a part of that tide and a part of, turning that corner. But we have seen protests before. We've seen, I think what's promising about these is seeing the global look, right? It's a different time that we're in when we're protesting now, right? And we're smaller globally, essentially. We're interconnected. We have access to each other and to all of this information. And things are more visible now, which I believe is definitely something that's hopeful. But we are at war, and the way I look at it is that Brian Stevenson puts this so beautifully. We won the Civil War, right? But we lost the narrative war, and that is so important. And it goes back to your point of art. Art, as Lee said, can change the world. It can change the tide of things, and unless we take control of that narrative, of our narratives, of the narrative of America, you can't, even people who want to sit in their racism, you don't know the true history of your nation if you do not know Black history, if you do not know marginalized people's history. We are not just our history, we are American history, and we're world history. And so I think the narrative war is hugely important. And that's why, as artists, we have to take hold of our stories. We have to tell the truth about Billie Holiday's life. We cannot let organizations like the Federal Bureau of Narcotics or the FBI continue to control these narratives. That's something that J. Edgar Hoover and Harry J. Anslinger and the like were masterful at. And so, I always go back to what happened when I first saw Hidden Figures. Do you know what it would have done to me as a young Black girl to know that 3 Black women were largely responsible for getting us to space and programming the first computer, or that Carver was not just the peanut butter man, but he actually saved this country from spiraling deeper into depression, into destruction, or that Lafayette, a brave slave at the time, was in the war fighting, infiltrated the enemy camp and sort of rerouted them, and that's what netted us our freedom in America. That's huge. You need to know the depth of people's struggle, and you need to know the breadth of their contribution in order to have truth and to have healing. And so, yes, we are absolutely at war. I think we will see tides and things change, but we have to get a hold of that narrative war. It's imperative for us to move forward and to heal.
All right, we have less than 2 minutes left, and at the not to get you to repeat yourselves, but I would love for each of you to answer this one question as briefly as you could, and that as briefly as you can, and that is, if there is one message you wanted audiences to take away from the United States versus Billie Holiday, what would it be? Andra Day.
I think first, the big message is that you need to know the truth, that Billie Holiday was the godmother of the civil rights movement as we know it today. And so we should be saying thank you to her. And then I think to piggyback off of that, what Billie would want is to now for us to go look at other people's stories, is to excavate, and to find more stories. The world went crazy last year when they found out Beethoven was African, right? Why has there been such a desperate, a desire to suppress our stories or to tell untruths about our narratives, And so the idea is to do what Lee did, pop the top off, tell more and more and more. There should be a flood of Black and marginalized people's stories, because we have not historically told them and told the truth about it. So I want them to say thank you to her, and I want them to continue to seek out the truth as she lived her life,
Mm-hmm. Lee Daniels?
Take the blinders off. Take the blinders off and understand that we have work to do. If Billie Holiday could do this work, she didn't really look at herself as an activist. She was doing the right thing. And I think that she had the blinders off. She was doing the right thing. We got to take these blinders off. And even if it's painful, do the right thing. I love what they did of recent, going into the streets. That's the right thing to do. And just if Billie Holiday could do that, and this black woman could do that then. What can we do now?
And with that, we have run out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Lee Daniels, so great to see you again, even if it's in a little box virtually. And Andra Day, seriously, congratulations on this movie. Wonderful to meet you. Honored to meet you. Congratulations to you both on The United States versus Billie Holiday.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, thank you for tuning in. Come back to Washington Post Live tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern for a very special Washington Post Live with Ava DuVernay, the award-winning director behind the movie Selma and A Wrinkle in Time, the fabulous documentary 13th, and many other works. You don't want to miss it. Once again, I'm Jonathan Capehart, opinion writer for the Washington Post. Thank you for tuning in to Washington Post Live.